Hello, 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 and welcome to a Tombs of Amascut stream, Old School RuneScape stream. I am going to be your host for the first time ever. This is me, Mod Brow. And yeah, so we're going to be talking about some Tombs of Amascut, Old School RuneScape art. Specifically, we're going to focus on kind of environment stuff in this stream. But yeah, so I guess let's go ahead and get started. So introduction. So people that don't know, I'm Mod Brow. I am a senior artist in the team, so just environments, characters, animation, whatnot. We kind of all wear different hats in the team, but yeah. Mod Jerv, do you want to start off? Who are you?
Hey, I'm Jerv. I do concept art for Old School RuneScape.
Nice. Mod Grub?
Hey, yeah, I'm Mod Grub. I'm a senior concept.
Cool. And I feel like I don't need to introduce Mod West, but Mod West, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm Mod West and I'm a senior environment artist, so this stream should be right up my alley. Lots of environment talk.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Great. How's everyone doing? What's everyone working on?
I can never answer this question every time it's asked. Every time.
It's an easy one. I'm sorry. What did everyone have for lunch? How about that? That's a better one. What did everyone have for lunch?
I had noodles.
Oh, nice.
Pretty good. I feel like I can answer the what I'm working on as well. I've been doing little bits of speedrunning as well as a little bit of wilderness boss rework stuff, which that's been a long time coming.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I had bacon and egg omelette for lunch, and been working on art and designs for Old School RuneScape, the game we all know and love.
The game we all know and love. Yes. Mod Grub, can you say what you're working on? Do you want to?
I honestly can't say what I'm working on. I don't think I can actually say what I'm working on. It's very exciting. It's definitely
like a cool boss. Don't put too much into it. Don't have to go into detail.
Many cool bosses. The bosses are unbelievable. The bosses remain unbelievable. It's just a constant train of unbelievable bosses. That's what's going on. That's literally what I can say.
That is unbelievable. That is absolutely unbelievable. Cool. Okay, enough of this awkward ass introduction stuff. Let's go into announcements. So first off, just have some important announcements to go over first. I didn't know this. Amascut has been foiled over 1.5 million times, which is insane. So we're rewarding you guys with some Fashionscape, some cool ornament kits. So if you type in !game update in the chat, you should see some information about that. So we've added ornament kits, transmogs for the pets, and there's a new activity advisor that you guys can take for a spin. So that's all in this week's update. Also, I just have a note here. So there was an issue recently that has been fixed, but it impacted the way NPCs behave with the hunter skill. So we've rebooted the worlds, and so that should be all resolved. But check the news posts for exact information on that. But should be resolved. And then finally, the poll. So we have a current poll right now. Poll is regarding the quest speedrunning stuff. So definitely check that out and have your voice heard. Type in exclamation point poll in the chat. That's really hard to say. To find out more information about that. Some cool cosmetics. That's what I've been working on. Sorry, I think I actually didn't even answer what I was working on. I've been working on the quest speedrunning rewards. So yeah, those are looking really cool. But without further ado, I guess let's go ahead and get started. So if we have the first image we're going to talk about. Cool. So what are we looking at?
This is the entrance. I think we might have dwelled on this one on the last stream where we did the entry quest, but this is the pyramid. This is the first sketch we did. I remember kind of raising eyebrows on this one within the team about the scale of it. Hopefully you guys have seen it in game now. It's unbelievable. But that was the big ambition for this part. I think it was so big actually we had to push the coast out and kind of make some space for it. Originally we even tried to Bro, I don't know if you remember trying to make it buried underground. We kind of came up against some stuff with the engine limitation there, not having negative values in the environment. Yeah, trying to make the single field as big as possible. Additionally, we had some of the we want to kind of do a rework potentially of more of this area soon, maybe the city. So there's a chance to kind of do some early exploration there as well with the Mastabas. These kind of little ruins around the pyramid that have all the remains and such in. So that was pretty much that.
Yeah, I think it still remains as like it's the biggest thing in game right now. I think like if you consider, it's made up of a bunch of different parts, a lot of tiny parts all pieced together, but I think it is the single biggest like object in game if you consider it, one big object. So yeah, that's there was a lot of playing around and fiddling with the engine to get that to work.
Do you remember how many pieces it was? It's like over 1,000 pieces in this.
It was ridiculous. I don't think it wasn't over 1,000. It was definitely
Over
like
a million.
over a billion, over 1.5 million Amascut foils have been. Yeah, no, it's crazy how many pieces it was. Really, really crazy. Yeah, cool concept. I remember when we were first kind of planning this stuff out, and how we were trying to make this thing the most imposing. Because we wanted it to be it's the entrance to the raid, right? So we wanted to be this like holy crap.
I mean, we had crazy ideas about like we didn't really have the time to push it as far as we want to, but we really wanted that pyramid to be super corrupted. And then as you get in, the trees get more and more dead, and the buildings get all crap. In the end, we just didn't have the time to get it out and get that done. But our ambition was pretty big, wasn't it? We were definitely pretty excited to get on with this.
Yeah. No, and I think you're right. We did talk about a lot of this in the BCS Beneath Cursed Sands streams that we did. So we can probably move on to the next image, which was I believe that concept kind of realized in the engine. So this is something that I ended up I think taking the majority of, I think it came out all right. Like you said, we had a lot of ambition. We had a lot of ideas of like initially wanting it to feel like you were almost going down into the depths and then kind of coming out to this monolithic structure that you would then enter and go into this really hardcore kind of raid experience. Unfortunately, the engine does have a lot of limitations, so there was a lot of concessions that we had to make. But I'm generally happy with how it came out. Like I think it really does set the tone. You have to go through this graveyard almost. Well, not almost. It is a graveyard before you kind of enter the depths of this pyramid full of all this evil. So yeah.
And I mean, you can see from the chat as well, they're now asking if we can make the other raid entrances look quite as cool. We certainly raised the bar there. I would say that the entrance to Theatre of Blood's pretty cool, but potentially back at James of Zerek, I mean, there was only 2 artists at the time, so we were somewhat limited. And I have seen a few of that come up. Like, are you going to like up-res, the James of Zerek, get it more in line with Tombs? And it's something we'd love to do, but I mean, the content's really popular, and there's not really like complaints that it looks bad. It's just that it doesn't look as good as the newer stuff. So, I mean, it's not really something we can really rationalize, but it would be quite a cool thing to go back to.
Yeah, totally. We're only human, and there's only so many hours in the day. As much as we would all love to do that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about the entrance before we move on?
I would just say props to Mod Rai for the pyramid itself.
Yes.
He did a fantastic job with that.
Yeah. When we were saying, over 1,000 pieces, that was Mod Rai going in and cutting that thing up. So, he really, I don't know how he did it, but yeah, it was, it's wild. Cool. Shall we move on? Shall we enter the pyramid? So, cool. So we've kind of talked about the exterior. So this is now going more into the interior. And so what you're seeing here is really, I would say, is quite ugly. And I'm sure there's some spelling mistakes in there. This is literally taken straight off our planning board. But this was, I'm talking to this because this was kind of my area that I started out with right at the start. Me and Mod Ghost sat down and planned a bunch of stuff out, and these are kind of stills from that, and it's really interesting. I guess these were done so long ago, but yeah, kind of filtered all the way through into the final product, and you'll see, the final room doesn't look too dissimilar, I guess, from that very, very crude top-down image I made. But yeah, I guess, the initial idea with this was really this idea that because you're entering the pyramid from a very unusual angle. You're kind of entering it on the corner, and we didn't want it to feel like you were going into an entrance. It was like we wanted it to feel like you're going into a makeshift entrance. Someone has cracked this pyramid open with a hammer, and you're going into an area that you really kind of aren't meant to be. So the idea of it being kind of almost like a layer between the walls. This cavity has formed, and that's why you'll see in the final there's a lot of sand build up around, a lot of like debris and stuff like that. This idea that you're in an architectural like gap in the pyramid before you actually then plunder the actual tomb. At least that was the idea that I initially came up with, and then I think everyone kind of like contributed to that. I guess. An interesting note. I will say, just at this stage, you'll see in the breakdown there's actually a crack, or a very crude crack, that I drew at the entrance. The idea that I wanted to have, that we ended up not having to axe, was this idea of kind of furthering that plundering a tomb, and that the original entrance wasn't going to be an entrance. It was going to be almost like a waiting platform or something like that. And once everyone was ready, the floor would crack underneath you, and then you would start the whole journey. And that would make it feel more kind of perilous. We kind of had to opt for just kind of a normal door and just a normal kind of staircase from this room into the next. But that was the original idea of this, like, you're going on an adventure and you're actually plundering a tomb. And so this idea that, like, things would actually break, and you weren't supposed to be there, kind of thing. Yeah. I've sufficiently talked for a long time. Does anyone else have anything to say to shut me up?
I don't know much to talk about the planning stage of things, but if we move on to the next image, we can start talking about like the overall process we go through when it comes to planning out our environments and actualizing them. So here we have on the left it's literally grey, but it wasn't actually. I think that's been grayscaled. But yeah, that's
sorry, I did grayscale that. Yeah.
Yeah. As you can see, we've sort of recreated that layout that was there in the initial plan. You can even see, like, in the early days, we literally just taken the Theatre of Blood, grouping a bit of scenery, and just use that in place of what we're going to eventually make. And then this was passed over to Jerv, and she's done a really nice paint over of it, and sort of given us direction on where to go. Don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun one to do. I like the build-up of sand, kind of like the aesthetic of it. It was hard to do with the engine. I think it was hard to make it really flow well with the difference from like the floor and then a wall kit. So we're trying to really take on environmental storytelling in our concepts now, and trying to really tell the story of that they're still kind of working out what this raids is, and they're chipping away at it. So you can see, like, there's some wooden structures up on the side with like a pickaxe on it and stuff to kind of help tell that story. My bank was just, a chest in my concept, whereas I don't know whose idea the camel was, but
yeah, we'll get to the camel. We'll get to the camel.
Yeah,
There's a
we'll get to that
slide
one.
for the camel. Yes, yeah.
The pillar for getting a team together was just based on one of Grub's earlier concepts with beneath cursed sands. They did like a pillar with a skull in it, and we couldn't really get to use it. But I really liked that one, so I just kind of yoinked it and put it onto this with like some scary reds on the top of it, and just filled with notes of people who wants to do the raids, and people who are looking for players and the team. It's kind of the thoughts behind it.
Yeah, smart yoink there.
Definitely. I think should we move on to the final image of it in game? Cool. So here we are. That's the full process, going from planning to grey box to concept, and then the final assets. I mean, obviously this part took quite a while, and went over multiple iterations as well. But yeah, it's turned out really well. I think one main thing to notice here is perhaps something we did a few mistakes in the beginning where we were taking our screenshots from the editor itself, and our field of view in the editor is quite bad, and it gives this very like blown out sort of fisheye like effect. This is actually the same room, but just sort of like taken from a lot further away with a more zoomed in camera, because the camera doesn't actually move, it just changes the field of view. So you can sort of see how that kind of impacted a few of the early concepts. I think once we realised that, we sort of started getting better screenshots that we could use for those paint overs. And of course, we now see the Bank Camel in all its glory.
Yes.
Is the Bank Camel called Camilla? Did we call it Camilla?
We have a
Is
few
it Camilla the Camel?
We had a bunch of pun names. Yeah.
Yeah, a few fun names. I think there's like Camuel as well. Yeah, I mean, it was actually a weird way that came about, because I think we just had a bank chest as initially suggested by the concept. And I think I sat there with you, my brow, where we were just like, Camel? And
Well, I think actually, my memory of it, I was trying to think about this the other day, because it's funny how these things kind of spawn. But I think it was like we initially were like, oh, let's have a traveling like merchant that would be like there, and then I want to say you, West, you were just like Bank Camel or something like. But I honestly can't remember who to attribute it to, but yeah, it was a good idea. Whoever
I just remember I saw like suddenly messaging Mod Arcane about a Bank Camel, and he was just getting very overwhelmed by.
yeah. He was missing all the context, and he just got bombarded with messages from me, West, and Skylark, and we were just yeah.
Speaking of which, these assets were both made by Mod Skylark, so yeah, shout out. This turned out really well.
Yeah, she smashed it.
Yeah, Skylark also designed the camel, so that was all her.
Yeah.
I love all the little bag boxes.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think we just went to Skylark and just was like Bank Camel, and then we found some images. I think of like camels loaded up with stuff, and then we're just like, make this.
Oh yeah, because the initial plan was to have the camel sitting down, like camels generally do, when they're resting. But I think I saw some camels at a zoo a few years ago, and it kind of sparked something inside me. But unfortunately, because we had to do this relatively cheap, because it was very much like feature creep in its glory. So we had to sort of work with what we had. So I think in the end, the camel rig that we have, it was quite bad, and it wasn't really good enough to really do what we wanted to do. So we ended up using I think it was the unicorn rig, which is kind of funny. And because of the way that's set up, we couldn't really have it sitting down in the way we wanted to. But I mean, a standing camel is just as good.
Yeah. Came out great. Cool. Any more camel thoughts, or are we good to move on?
I'm all cameled up.
I love the camel. Love the Bank Camel so much.
Good camel.
Cool. I am. Let's move on. So yeah, I guess back to me. So back to and I guess the theme here that you might be seeing is we're starting from kind of the earliest form of a room. So we've moved on now to the Nexus, or what we call the Nexus, which is where all the boss rooms are, that you go onto the different paths, and then eventually the boss rooms. So starting at the earliest possible stage, this is the Nexus. This went through quite a few different iterations. I can just kind of name off some of the ideas we had, where you can see here there's a door trigger. Initially it was going to be just like a platform that people would step on, and then it would trigger, and then the door would open. There was other ideas where I think as you defeated the bosses, something would light up in the room. It was this idea that you can see on the floor there's like almost like power lines. The idea that as you defeat the bosses, this room would light up. You'd get power flowing from the different paths, and then eventually that would destroy the final door. Another idea we had was like there was going to be a mosaic, or not a mosaic. Sorry, that's not the correct term. Some sort of hieroglyphic depiction of Apmeken and Eladinus, and then eventually that would get slowly destroyed as you defeated all the bosses, and then reveal the real door behind the fake door, which would then have Amascut and Ixalan on it. Something like that. There were a bunch of ideas at this point. We were trying to really build up this type. We wanted it to be this, like, you're slowly building towards this final boss, and trying to build that anticipation. All of that, yeah, kind of got cut. But I mean, I think it's better for it. I think honestly, the final Nexus looks like awesome. So you end up going through all these kind of iterations, and some things don't pan out. But yeah, I guess we can move on to the next slide, because because then I think West, you took that that very crude. Again, I'm so sorry. I'm horrible illustrator. But you took my crude breakdown and then built some really cool gray box. Honestly, this is probably one of the coolest gray boxes.
Yeah, I think it was the first one actually, because I think this was done. I remember doing it. I think it was over Christmas. So we were doing like lots of discussions and like planning and trying to figure out how to fit all of the stuff we needed to do for TOA into the slot to work on it. And I think I just quickly put together a very rough grey box kit based on some previous kit that we had lying around, and just quickly basically made that environment just to give a rough idea of what they're going to be like, size, look like, that sort of rough idea. But yeah, this was like, I mean, if anything, I'd say this is more white box than grey box, because it's very basic. It's not got any final assets in it. If we move on to the next image, we get to the proper grey box where we've sat down, had some concepts made for the walls, and got those plugged in. I think this was all done by Modrai, and I think it was Sepulchre assets and BCS assets we used to just sort of give it some more flavour, give it more decoration. I think at this point we then reviewed it, and no, I think at this point it was sent over to Mod Grub, and if we move on to the next one, we have our concept, I think, on the next.
Oh, yeah. Move on to the next image. Yeah, cool.
So, do you want
I would have loved to do some cool stuff with lighting in this room. That was way too ambitious looking back at it, but just some kind of we started to experiment with like forks lighting and baking in kind of certain spotlights and things into the ground. And I was thinking it'd be cool if every time you're locked into a door, all the light kind of focuses on that door, and it's very clear to the whole team where you're going. But it was a bit ambitious, and it's not very old school either. I think that would have to be something we do with the HD rework, or getting something more nuanced and complex in the lighting engine. But I think the result of what we got was actually much better. So the concept was just a stage. It's just a stage of trying to work things out. But after that, and this one in particular, you guys did a little bit of iteration after and found it.
And just real quickly, are we able to go back one image real quick? I'm so happy we can show this, because we lived for a long time, I think, with these doors with this text in front of it, and it was like the most Spyro feeling thing. It was so cool. So Modride just did a placeholder thing, and I want to say it was almost like we were tempted to have something similar like it. Text is translation and whatnot. I think we went against it, but I'm just glad we could show this, because we had this. The Warden's door looked like this for a long time, just that Spyro like golden text just floating there. Anyway, just wanted to point that out.
I do really like what you've done here with the doors, Grub, because that pyramid motif was like, it's not something really done with any sort of doorway, and having that sort of that triangular shape, that sort of shape coming out of it, it was really awesome.
Yeah.
Also, the lowering, there was that small change in lowering the stairs down and down, so we're always going down, or always going deeper.
Such a subtle change, but such a huge change as well. Subtle level design change, huge implication, like feeling change. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
And then
cool.
I think finally we've got the game image next. So that's its final iteration. I guess. I mean, this was as we just said, it's a team effort here. Modrai did. I think I did the initial grey box. Modrai did the prop pass, and then I came in and did some polishing afterwards. So this was just getting like the final doors all plugged in. So they had their 3 states. So like incomplete, chosen, and finished. And that was with the red fire, adding in those icons to give it a clearer guidance to which doors which. Now that it no longer had that lovely Spyro text. And then just I think I got a bit carried away, and I started adding a lot more details around each of the doors. At this point, we'd come back to it, and we'd done a lot of. We did it in sort of stages. We tried to grey box everything, and then prop pass everything, and concept it, etc. So by the time we came back to the polish pass, a lot of the other assets existed. So pulling in some of the foliage from the Zebak runes, taking some of the bananas from the Baba room, etc. To just sort of give each door its own like unique feel, and so you instantly know where you're going. Yeah, it was good fun working on this room, and yeah, it's weirdly one of my. I mean, obviously it's the least interesting room in terms of what we're doing in the room, but yeah, it's probably one of my favourites in the whole raid.
Yeah, you get the whole story, right? It's like you get all the bosses and the final door. Like I think every door as well, like alludes to what's beneath it, or not beneath it, but what's through it. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I really love this room as well. Super cool.
Yeah, the layout's like.
I just really love that gold effect. Sorry to cut you off. Just really love that gold effect on the trim. Like it's such a small thing, but like gosh, it just looks just like gold. It's like it's so cool. I love that.
It's also what we can do. I think just in comparison to the other raids as well, like obviously the structure of them is quite different. With Tombs of Amascut, it's very randomly generated as you're going through it. Through of Blood, it's just one structured pathway. With this one, you go into this Nexus room and you've got this, you've got the boss room right there ahead of you, like waiting ominously as you complete all the other parts. So yeah, it's just a really cool like setup and payoff sort of room, which I really liked.
Yeah, super cool. Cool. Anyone else have anything before we go on to the next boss, or go on to the first boss, I should say. Cool. Sweet. So yeah, I'll start with Kephri. So at this stage, I think we're just gonna kind of go through all the bosses, their paths, and the boss rooms, and just talk about stuff. That's what we're doing. Yeah. So start with Kephri.
Yep. So this is the grey box for the Scabaras path. I think this was after the Nexus. I think this was the first other one that got grey box out. Probably went a bit too hard with this grey box because there's actually quite a few finished, well, not finished, props inside there as well. I guess I kind of leaned heavily on the fact that we had a few things made for BCS. So we already had this like statue of Scabaras, which I was like, well, we should probably put this in here somewhere and sort of, set the theme of the path quite early on. We had some white boxes done previously by some of the content devs. So I think Mod Mac put this one together. So I just came in here and I was changing things. Initially, it was quite a flat environment, just going from left to right. So I was just like trying to like push in as much like verticality as we can. So at the beginning and then in between each puzzle, just having that sort of like elevation shift, just so it kind of feels like we're delving down into it. Yeah, it was really fun, just sort of getting that first. I think it was literally one of my first proper jobs on the project. So it was really cool to start seeing things come together. Yeah, if we move on to the next one, I think this will be a good one to talk about.
Yeah. The concept of this was quite fun. It was a lot of puzzles, and I had to go back and forth with Mod Mac quite a lot on this. But you can kind of see on the left, initially it was planned to be like a big scarab swarm that would slowly, like a wave that would kind of take over the whole path, which is not possible, very hard to do with our engine, so we had to scrap that. So instead it's a few little scarabs instead, but it was fun, really tying into the whole environmental storytelling with this. Like you can see the little sketch of a skeleton kind of chiseling in the answer to the math puzzle everyone loves in this. And I also played a lot with the kind of the bus door. So when you finish the path, kind of the bus room bleeding into the path itself. This was the first path we made, so there was a lot of room for things to play with. So yeah, that's just something I tried out, and we kind of tried to do that with the rest of the paths as well. Yeah, a fun one.
If you go into the next, awesome. If you go into the next one, we can see it in its final iteration. This was sort of a joint effort between me and Mod Skylark. I believe she made a lot of the props, and then I went through and sort of polished it out and mapped things down, adding in all those lovely skeletons and lots of scrolls. Given that sort of I guess the idea here was to give it like a lead up to the room where Kephri is, which is a lecture theatre. So almost like building in all these shelves with lots of scrolls on it, lots of puzzles, lots of. I mean, I guess the theme of it was it was like learning and like that sort of vibe. Yeah, I think it turned out really well. Probably one of the hardest rooms to take a good screenshot of because it's so long. Hence why I had to go for a few different angles here. Yeah, and again, I also really like the bleeding in of the boss room as well. It really does give you like a goal to aim for, which is really nice.
And I just want to ask West. So there are the statues of Scabaras. You can elaborate on some of the nicknames that Scabaras had.
Oh, wait, I don't know which one you want. You'll meet. I mean, a lot of people call him Scabaras because that is like a go-to misnomer of his. I mean, I think it was actually the.
I think it was. Yeah, you go.
It was the scarab with the four arms, right? Is that what we're thinking of?
Yeah.
I think I coined him Scab Daddy, but I don't know if I don't know if I'm too proud about that.
I just really wanted you to say that on the stream. That's literally the only reason I brought that up.
Yeah.
We can move on. We're done. Cool. Oh, sweet. Cool. Hey, it's me. Cool. So we're going into the boss room at this point now. So again, really early and rough sketches. I think even West. I think that sketch in the top right-hand corner is something that you did, and then I like put things on top of it. We kind of took this together, I think, at some point. But yeah, exactly what West was saying. It's the whole idea at the end. Sorry, now I've got Scab Daddy on the brain. Kephri, the whole idea for Kephri was this idea of I think her curse being she was had all her knowledge kind of taken away, something like that. Sorry, I'm blanking on the lore exactly. It's going to kill me. But so basically, she had her knowledge taken away, and so we wanted it to be this kind of academic thing, this like knowledge-based thing. And so yeah, lecture hall, kind of ancient lecture hall is kind of what we were going for. Library as well, kind of ancient library. I think those were kind of the key references we had. And so yeah, we had some really rough ideas of kind of how we were going to lay it out at the early kind of planning stage. You can see a really nice little sketch there in the bottom right-hand corner. I don't know, did you do that, West? I actually don't know who did that.
I think that was me.
Oh, was it you? It was you. Oh, yeah, nice. It's a good sketch.
It was pretty
lots of yes. Yeah. So then, yeah, we had all these ideas. You'll see here. There's actually a thing that says ball holder there. I think the original idea was that Kephri was going to actually not be on a ball of dung, or maybe the ball of dung was going to be on some sort of device. I can't remember exactly what that whole idea was so long ago, but yeah, the whole lecture hall idea kind of came through to the end. So yeah, if we go on to the next image. Cool. So yeah, this is the concept.
Oh man, this was the first concept we did as well for the whole raid, I believe. So we had no idea going in. Like, I remember just thinking, oh, these Egyptian patterns and designs, they're so busy and crazy. How are we going to do this in old school? It's just going to blow everyone's eyes out. So this room was the first attempt at having to go with those Egyptian shapes and palettes and trying to make it work. And I think it was quite good. I actually quite like how this room turned out, and it was almost identical to the concept. I think West, you had to make quite a few modular changes, but you got it pretty spot on. So
yeah,
I mean, it was one of the few that didn't have a grey box to supersede it. So it was just a completely original image from you. And then we had some like white boxes made by the devs, and it was basically just a square room. And if you go to the next image, I think, yeah, I mean, I've done a bit more to the grey box at that point, but trying to like at least get it a bit closer, putting up these sort of, the seating above it all, making sure it still was quite visible. I think that actually became less visible as I came to making the final assets for it, but just making sure that Kephri was at least visible, at least even to see what she's doing, and just it was good fun putting this together. And I think this was quite early on as well, development. Yeah, just a classic grey box. And if we move on to the finished image, yep, there's it. And I probably should have got on the same angle so we could probably get a better comparison shot there. But yeah, it's effectively the same proportions there, just adding in those like taller walls, and yeah, I think it turned out really well. Lots of I think it was like feedback from Mod Ghost getting the stepping on the upper floor just to really bring in that sort of like fake lighting effect, which made it look it just gives it so much more atmosphere, which is awesome. And I think in early talks about this, we wanted to have like little scarabs up there, or little like those little flat hats that you wear.
Yeah, motorboards.
Yeah,
I think
motorboards. Yeah, and I mean, not something that happened in the end, but we did end up getting like kamikaze bugs coming up from the doors, so it turned out really well.
Yeah, I really like this. I really like, like you said, the fake lighting, because we don't have any lighting in the game. This fake sense of that, she's being lit, kind of almost on a stage. It's great, and she's like on the ball, kind of balancing. Like there is a really nice lots of really cool themes there, really cool elements that all kind of work together. Super cool. Kephri, I think, might be my favorite boss. I think changes every day, but yeah. My hot take, Modbrow's hot take of the day: Kephri is cool boss.
It's good shit. Anyway,
say that.
Yeah, I can't believe you swore on stream, West. Oh my god. Oh my god.
when it's good.
When it's good, it's good, and you gotta say it. So yeah.
Exactly.
I agree. Anyway, moving on. Zebak.
Zebak is my favorite boss, I think.
Zebak, so good. Zebak, cool. So let's go on to the path. Oh my gosh, this is so early. I forgot the fountains as the water source. That's
so yeah, this is I mean, it's somewhat referred to as the sepulchre room, and it was literally using sepulchre assets to begin with, which I mean seems quite fitting. This is the grey box. Getting those mechanics down, testing. I suppose the only difference there was rather than having bolts firing out at the end, they replaced it with the lightning, so it was like a cascading lightning effect, which did actually look really cool. And it was actually, I think we had cascading lightning and used quite a few of the rooms, but I don't think any of it survived, or maybe.
Wardens, I think it still survives.
Is there still a few? Is it just the Because it was quite a lot of effects in the original Wardens was all cascading lightning, but I think maybe just one or two survived.
Yeah, I think only a few. Yeah, cool.
If we move on to these,
basic paint over here. Really, it was quite interesting working out exactly what those mechanics were. So we had like some kind of vertical element and some kind of horizontal element. It's like, what's actually going on here? Is it flames coming out the wall? Is it? So then we went with kind of like tribal spikes coming out of the wall and then poison vines on the ground. Which seemed to work out. The other thing in here was probably the tree growing. I think maybe if not to criticize our work live, but probably if I could go back, doing more to that tree growing would have been one thing I would have liked to do. I don't know exactly what.
Do you remember the original ideas we had, where the whole idea of like growing the tree would then build the bridge that would allow you to actually go on to the boss battle, and how that was all going to be connected to the final boss room and stuff like that? Yeah, I wish we could have done that, but
we got the red crocs in, so it's a victory for me. Yeah,
good cast croc.
Yeah.
Well, if we go on to the final, so this was done by Modrai. I think he had a bit of a challenge there, trying to get those poison effects down. So I think him and Mod had to do a bit of a rework of it a little bit, because the initial one, I think all the vines were constantly animating, but I think it was damaging the frame rate just a little bit. And I suppose out of all rooms, you probably want the best frame rate in this one if you're trying to dodge past traps and stuff. I think this room turned out really well. Probably one of the more interesting rooms, where there's really bright greens and lots of red foliage. It's just really awesome.
Yeah, ended up looking really cool. I love the cascading green. Like when you see it all kind of come in a line. Like I know probably people are just they're over it now and they just know the patterns and they just like click the tile. But like I remember when I first saw it, it was such a cool effect of like that cascading green, and it just looks like almost like a moving fog towards you. You know, it's really really cool.
Also, I mean, I had quite a bit of fun with the animations as well for the croc heads, getting those to feel quite mechanical, and having maybe a few fake outs, because initially the spike comes out and then it extends out and then it pulls out with the spikes as well. It was quite a fun thing to put together. And I don't know if the audio survived, but I remember like an early version of it where I think maybe it was too many things happening at once, but as it like flung out and came back in, it was like had this really nice like mechanical click to it. And I mean, it maybe a bit overwhelming, but yeah, it was just really really nice to see them line up and sound really good. So, I mean, yeah, power to audio. I mean, it goes without saying, the rage sounded amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Because that's the thing, the sound kind of comes in at the end because, you know, you need to have pretty much everything kind of done so they can sync up the sound effects to everything. But yeah, the audio team absolutely killed it. That was I remember, specifically working on the Wardens at the very end, and just like all the sound effects were coming in. I'm like, oh my god, this is like this is so cool. Because it can help imply almost just internal mechanisms and things that like you didn't even think about when you make the assets. So super cool. Conscious of time, so yeah, let's move on. So, oh boy, that's really.
I think I worked on a lot of the pre-production for Zebak, and
yeah,
it was during my internship, so I was still kind of working out exactly what was possible and not possible. And at some point, there was talk about Zebak being like a centipede, like crocodile, with like a lot of arms.
A crocopede.
That would have been really hard to do. Oh, sorry, yeah, crocopede. Excuse me.
Thank you.
But yeah, it was ambitious. It was an ambitious boss. I think the next image is a few more, some sketches I did early on, which is just like a massive crocodile, and that is just not possible. But I had a lot of fun doing them, so there they are. There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, the scale on this is amazing. It would be awesome to be able to one day achieve this in the Old School engine. But, yeah, I think we're still I mean, Zebak, this final one is still quite menacing. I think I had them at one point next to Ulm, and they are kind of similar size. So it is definitely a very big boss. But yeah, I'll push that even further.
Cool.
Cool. So yeah, we're at the Grey
Box. Yeah.
Probably one of the simpler ones. Which, I mean, obviously we had to. I think at this point we were still thinking of it like swimming around the island, so we wanted to have a lot of space around it, so it could maneuver. Not much more to really say about that.
That's what I remember. It was like it was going to be a head and a body and a tail NPC, and it was going to move around and then go into the water and then pop up on certain different sides of the island. And so at least that's my memory of the initial pitch that we had, but then we quickly realized that we're Old School RuneScape and we can't we have limits. But
it's an old engine.
It is an old engine, but I think what we got was pretty cool in the end, though. Like,
yep, definitely. I mean, yeah, as we see here.
Oh yeah, look at that, super cool.
It's still my favorite room. You come in and he's just right over there with his big mouth open looking at you. It's just like, love how it turned up.
Yeah,
I feel like you've already said it, but this is also my favorite room as well. I don't know why, but it's just the scale of it, I guess, and just seeing him there waiting. And then also what Ghost did with the animations. When he dies, he persists there, just lying there. It just feels, I don't know, it just feels, something we've not really done before. And yeah, it's just so cool to see.
Yeah,
and the way that the part, I mean, I say they're particle effects, they're not particle effects, but the way the spell animates just when he roars and it ricochets across the whole environment. I've never seen anything done like that before. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, we definitely upped the effects a lot with TOA. It's kind of crazy what we've managed to achieve.
Cool. Move on to the final product. Yeah,
there he is in all his glory. I mean, while we didn't get the crocopede down, or the very long one, it is definitely the longest NPC, because I think it's the first time we've ever had like 2 separate NPCs as like one NPC, because that's technically not, because we can't have rectangular mobs, unfortunately. They have to always be square. And so we had to, well, Mod Ghost did some crazy voodoo magic to get that all lining up and timing it all right. Obviously with help from ModMac and ModMac, potentially Mod Arcane as well. It just turned out so well. And I suppose a shout out to as well Skylark for the polished job for this, bringing in those those red elements of the foliage really gives a nice transition to this room.
Yeah, and it's cool if people notice the fact that like when you come in the floor, you can see the kind of the existing floor. The whole idea is that this room has kind of almost been trampled in by Zebak, and so you can see the remnants of what I guess was initially the floor when you come in. There's that plinth that goes out, but then you can see like a little edging around the whole thing. That's a really cool touch that Skylark did. Yeah, super cool.
Yeah,
super cool room. I actually really like this room as well.
I remember like the initial saying that it was a normal sized crocodile, but just started consuming everything and outgrew his room. Yeah, he sort of forced it to fit.
It was a small crocodile that grew into like a big. He ate all the crocodiles around him, and I think Amascut promised him like unlimited food, so he just ate and ate. And I remember the earlier iterations of this room were playing with like meat fruit to be kind of the unlimited food source. But now it's more so that Zebak just kind of feasts on the players, and that's his unlimited food source.
And I think the meat fruit was supposed to be grown in like the corrupted, hydroponics indoor kind of plant growing area, which was the path. So we were trying to link the path to the boss room, and actually you can kind of see it here. You can see the fact that there's that corrupted red weed, red plant that's in the previous room that has kind of leaked into here, which is a cool little tie-in. Yeah. Cool. Sweet. So shall we move on to Mbaba? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the original path. As you can see, it's pretty close to the actual. Well, in fact, it's 1-to-1 with the actual layout. But you can see we didn't have the statue in at the time. It was just another pillar. This also shows our purgatory areas that we initially had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were initially like these like weird cages that you'd be locked inside of.
And then we realized that didn't make any sense. So we were like, let's make them ghosts.
Yeah. I think there was like something we wanted early on, but it didn't really quite. It made developing the actual content a bit too tedious. But actually having the ghosts inside the arena alongside their teammates, so they could still stay within the action, but just not have any impact on the actual mechanics itself. But yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. We still had a place to put them, and in most of the arenas, you can still have a pretty good view of the arena, so it's not too much of an issue. Yeah, interesting one.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry everyone. This is probably one of the easier paint overs, but I probably got a little bit too excited about those stains. So
we got our mileage out of them,
Oh yeah, we definitely did.
Who stains?
Yeah, good old smears. It's about the splat and the spread, and you can really get into it. So if anyone ever
telling a story with those
drawing exercise, yeah, exactly. It's all about that visual storytelling.
That poo blast, Yeah. Anyway,
you got the bananas. They're eating the bananas. There's only one way for those bananas to end, right? And that's on the walls.
That's on the walls. Yep. Oh boy. Yeah. Is there anything else to say?
I mean, we do have like 10 minutes left, so maybe we should get through these a bit quicker.
Yeah. We've talked about.
Here's the final version. As you can see, we brought that door motif back in, so having the like a little taster of the next room, and you've got the Apmeken statue in there. We've got the there it is. Obviously, we don't have it with all the monkeys in it, but you can imagine. It was a good room, good fun. Lots of teamwork involved.
Yeah. So yeah, this next image, go over really briefly. A lot of ideas that didn't really pan out. I think we originally had this idea that the monkeys would build nests out of desert plant debris, like twigs and stuff like that. that didn't really pan out, and we were gonna have a throne build of it and stuff like that. This is probably one of those areas that like I don't think a lot of the original planning really ended up mattering too much. We had
There's
some
like
ideas, but they were kind of loose. But yeah, sorry.
we had some of the Sarcophagus. They still, they stayed
Those
around.
did, yeah, those did come through. Those did come through. But you can see the layout that we have there is super basic, just debris at the back and sarcophagi, which granted did go through. But I think what Jerv and Skylar did with this, yeah, I think took it into the next level because yeah, if we go into the next few images, yeah.
So initially, we had steps, which I think we quickly realized. Well, we don't have. We can skew terrain to the. Well, we would skew terrain. We can skew our like our scenery to the terrain, but we don't have that feature for NPCs. So unfortunately, when Bubba was like walking off the edge of those steps, she was just sort of like floating like a meter off the ground, which we realized looked a bit rough. So I think if you go to next one, we've still got that. We've still got the steps in.
I think with I had the steps in this one, and I think after the initial kind of lookout of this version of the concept happened, we kind of realized that Baba was floating and it looked a bit silly. The initial idea of this is just like a throne room with Baba collecting all her debris and things up by the throne, and then we have the little monkeys watching over the whole thing happening. And a sarcophagi with, Grub's famous shit smears on, so that's there. But yeah,
Who
so
smears?
playing around with
Who
that.
smears?
Sorry, yeah, excuse me.
Jeez.
Who smears?
Yeah. I remember the initial version of this had like a tree. It was all grand. It was all like lush and green with lots of vines popping down. What was the sort of like change there to make it more of a dead?
Yeah, so that was mostly to do with the fact that Baba was also undead, and also the idea that how would a banana tree... So the throne is actually a banana tree, but initially it was alive, but since it's in the middle of a pyramid and this doesn't make sense, there's no water around this room, so how would it stay alive? So it's dead, to kind of be on theme with Baba as well. And there's like lots of bananas around the throne as well, because it's a banana tree. So it was mostly to tie to the bus, really. Yeah.
Came out pretty cool. Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
final. Yeah, so you can see how we had sloped that floor so that, yeah, Baba didn't look too silly. She does still float a little bit, but yeah.
And we're hoping to get that feature in the future, so we can skew our characters so they do, fit the terrain a little bit better. Yeah.
This one was. Oh, sorry. I think Skylark did this one, and she did such a good job trying to make it work with the. Just not being the steps, because they wouldn't work with Baba, so it was more a slope, but I wanted. Originally, it was quite just. It's a rectangle and then nothing going on the sides, and I did a small paint over of how to potentially solve it a bit later in production, and having it be like a platform that's a bit elevated with the stairs on the side. But that didn't work. It just was not possible. So I think Skylark went for like optic illusion for this, more so trying to make it seem like it's elevated to some degree with like darker tones around the edges of the main kind of battlefield and stuff, and it actually looks just really sick in the end.
Mm.
Yeah, something. I mean, to be honest, people have asked to do rolling boulders in the past. I think it came up in the Sepulchre, and I had to. Well, I just didn't feel like it would work on our engine, or at least finding like a good like rationale as to where the boulders are starting and where they're ending. Just didn't seem overly possible, because I think that those ended up becoming the spinning swords that we see in Spolka. When seeing this room fit together and seeing like all the animations come together, it was really awesome to see. Like Baba jumps back, pulls out all those boulders and chucks them back, very Donkey Kong style. So yeah, it was a really cool room to see all come together.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really loved all the poo on the walls.
Yeah, that's the highlight.
Yeah.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
What's that supposed to mean? What the heck? Anyway,
Mud brow, more like mud brown. Am I right? Yeah.
can we get Pogs in the chat for Mod Brown, who likes who? Oh my god. Okay. We're getting towards the end. Okay. Let's go to Akkha. Akkha? I never got it. I never got it in the end. It's whatever. Whatever you want it to be. Akkha. Anyway.
Cool. So this is the grey box. Initially, the walls were yeah, just lovely big grey boxes. And again, we had well, we had these Scabaras statues lying around, so those were initially used as the source of the light beams. And we just got some generic mirrors there. I mean, this was, yeah, I mean, it's a grey box. It was just to get the mechanics down and get everything working. Yeah, not really too much to say about it. If we move on to the next one, though, so sparks a bit more conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite clear what was needed in terms of mechanic elements, in terms of just what to design. So, you know, a wall that can break and a wall that can't break. I think we struggled a bit with the wall that can break, because I didn't fully understand if it could be broken by like each tile, so one by one, or if it was the whole wall. So I think I did a concept where it was the whole wall seemed to be broken, and you mentioned that I needed to be one by one, and I just did another version of just the first concept I did. But you solved it in the end, so it's fine. Yeah, just playing with it. I did. Oh, go ahead.
I was just in general having like, because I mean the room starts empty and the walls sort of like pop out the ground. It just felt, and obviously there's like multiple configurations that happen as you play. So trying to like rationalize that and figure out like the mechanics behind why this room's doing what it's doing was quite an interesting one to play around with.
Yeah, I put the het statues in some very suitable poses for the puzzle. So the Kamehameha or Hadouken pose, and then the one kind of shielding it using Akkha's shield, which I thought was quite fitting. I played around a lot with kind of the visual stuff. You can see in the full environment render of that room, I put the stationary shields as the old one, and but I had to redesign it so it would visually read more as something stationary that you couldn't pick up. So that's just one change that I went through. Yeah.
And yeah, here it's in its final. We did end up having, well, we changed a bit with the where the pickaxe was. I think we may have just misunderstood what the devs were really asking for there, and the fact that they'd want, well, players would initially want, or eventually want, the ability to store their stronger pickaxes in the actual tomb itself. And so I put together this like statue of Het offering a pickaxe, and then, I mean, initially there was just one, and then there was three, and I think there will soon be five, because now there's in a future update there'll be two by the exit as well, as that's something they sort of been requesting quite strongly. Yeah, room turned out quite nicely. The other thing that I did have to fiddle a bit with initially making it was the way the statues had been drawn and the height of them. They were like firing out this laser beam, and it's going quite. It was initially higher than the walls and higher than the players. So initially there had to be a bit of like lowering their plinths a little bit. I think it's still, if you get your camera low enough, they're still going above the players. But I mean, we had to work with what we have, and it still gives the impression of, you know, maybe just being close to it is enough to get a bit burnt. But yeah, conscious of time, so yeah, probably move on to the last part.
Yeah, we can move on to the final final boss room. Yeah, this was some stuff. So again, starting at the earliest possible stage, this was the initial planning. At this point, I think we had a pretty clear, I mean, from my memory, a lot of the bosses changed a fair amount in their design phase. Akkha was pretty much, I feel like on paper, was almost exactly what it was in the end. If not, maybe a few changes here and there, but the whole different quadrants detonating and charging up and fighting the shadow forms and all that stuff, like that was all there in the initial design. And so, you can kind of see some of that original idea kind of from the very start, where we had the 4 quadrants, which was in the final. the whole idea of it being this kind of like celestial kind of like sundial calendar kind of device. And each quadrant representing, that was the original idea, is each quadrant was going to represent a season, I think is what we ended up going with, something like that. But yeah, there was a lot of ideas. There was a lot of ideas that we wanted to try to get across, but yeah, at the end of the day, you have to release it.
Was there was it in this room or was it the path that we initially had some ideas of shadows walking along the walls? Like the way we'd implement that is, I don't even know where we begin with our
I remember we initially talked about it because it's such a prime kind of design idea of like taking hieroglyphs and making shadow forms and then making them come off the wall. Like what's that game? Link Between Worlds kind of thing, where it's like you're almost like coming in and out of like this like hieroglyphic style that's on the wall. And then I remember we were trying to come up with ideas on how we could animate a 2D hieroglyph along the walls and make it look like a thing that you could then like attack the wall. And that all went away. That all got scrapped, put in the toilet. So yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, I did this. I remember this. I made a real round cylinder disc.
Look at that circle.
That is so circular.
The largest, roundest thing we have.
Ooh, so round. Yeah, gray bucks. Yeah. So the whole idea of like some sort of like circular calendar sundial kind of thing was definitely established. So that's that's where I took the gray box, and you can see I literally just put gray cubes on the wall to represent what I think ended up being hourglasses. But I think at the time they were going to be like some sort of representation for the different seasons, like I said. But a lot of that, we just didn't have enough time. Didn't get to flesh it out as much as we were hoping to. But so I did the gray box and then passed it on to, I believe, Jerv. You did this one, right?
Yeah, this was the first environment I did for the raids, I think. And I had quite a field of view screenshots to work from when I did this. So the scaling was a bit of an issue. It felt a bit proportionately wrong in this. But yeah, I don't know. It's a sandy build-up, kind of like an hourglass. I wanted to get that point across throughout the whole thing as well. And it's like a massive Egyptian sundial vibe in the middle due to the like symbology of like the sun and like day and night, and having that on the walls as well with like the crest moon and then a kind of circular thing for the sun, just to help with the whole passing of time thing with Akkha, which is like his thing. So yeah, hourglasses that fills up. We got that working as well, so it's like visually it fills up, which is quite cool. I also tried to get back into putting in the like the murals that Grub did in his initial Kephri room. I thought that looked quite cool. I think we didn't have that in Zebak or Baba's room in the end, but Kephri and Akkha has it. Which is quite cool. Tells the story, helps like convey the story. It was a fun one. I think it's the most intricate like floor design I've ever done, and it's circular, which is crazy. Can't believe we put that into the game, but it looked really cool. Like on a grand scale, it just looks really nice. And Mudrai did such a good job translating this, and then Skylark polished it up a bit. I think. It's just a cool room. It's one of my favorite rooms after Zebak.
Yeah. And so I had a. Oh yeah, sorry, Grub and West. No, you go. You.
I was going to say this was the. I think this was the one room we had like almost art complete when we had the testers come in, and they just like raved about it so much. So yeah, it was really good to see that we were on the right track at that point.
Yeah. No, it came out super cool. Yeah, just just across the board, just crazy, like how close we were able to get these environments to the concepts, and how much those concepts just sped everything up. It's like we just got everything designed and then we just kind of built it. No, but what I was going to say before is Baba's got the poo on the walls. Kephri's on a literal ball of poo. Zebak, I would assume he uses that water as some sort of toilet. So I was
Sure.
thinking about this room. Where's the poo?
Where is
Right?
the food?
Right. So, and this, I have a point. I have a point that I'm gonna, lore wise, right? Akkha is supposed to be like, some sort of projection or some sort of like astral projection of a warrior, right? And that's what the sarcophagi is at the back of the room, right?
Yeah.
Right?
You saying he's a
Right?
ghost poo?
No.
I see.
Hey.
Well,
No. Hey, no. I was gonna say, what happens when you die? Your bowels
Oh.
loose.
okay.
So the poo's
That's what I
in
was
the
gonna get at.
Okay.
That was my joke.
That
Ha ha. Sorry.
That was a pretty way to end.
was grotesque.
That was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Oh my god.
Someone just called you Mod Scat.
We don't want to go with Mod Brown. But, yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Mod scat.
Yeah, well,
Anyway,
as I said, we did end up with quite a creepy dungeon. So here we are.
you did say that, West, and then someone recorded you and put that on to.
Yeah, they did.
I remember
And then it was put on a cake, and then I ate it.
We
That,
put that on a
that lacks a
cake.
lot of context.
Yeah. Players will have no idea what that means. We had a celebration cake where we actually printed out that quote about the poopy dungeon, and it was on the cake. So.
I got to eat my face.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Cool. So should we wrap it there? Or should we do the? I know we had a bonus image, but should we just wrap it there?
We have a bonus image.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, we have a. Let's get this bonus.
We do not have a bonus image. I'm being told we do not have a bonus image. I lied. I am a lie. I'm a dirty brown liar. I'm so sorry, guys. This is worst host.
Best host.
Okay. Let's wrap this thing up and flush it down the crapper. Thanks so much for being with us and talking crap, talking poopy, talking about TOA, talking about Tombs of Amascut. Super fun. I think it's such a fun bit of content. Like it was honestly it was such a long bit of like content to work on, but honestly like the reception that it's had and like the love that people have had for the art, I think it's one of the most fun things we've done. I think and I'm so happy everyone's liking it. Means a lot. It means a lot to see like everyone digging it. It's cool.
There's some questions just to wrap up as a final. Some people were asking how long it took us. I don't know. Probably shouldn't give official numbers, but it took over 400 days outside. So a tremendous amount of work from all of us. So when it went out and you guys received it and were loving it, it was massive. It really meant a lot to all of us. So yeah, huge thanks. Glad you enjoyed it.
The original kickoff as well was while we did pause it a little bit during last year, we initially kicked off in it was June, July last year, which kind of crazy to think how far it's come over that year.
Yeah,
massive. Did I say hours? I meant days. By the way, 400 days. If I said hours. Yeah. Anyway, that point's been made.
Yeah. Yes, it took a long time. A long time, and we haven't even talked about the animations and all that. So this is just the environment stream, and we didn't even get to go into the final boss environment as well. So we'll save all that for another stream. So maybe I didn't mention this at the start, but this is the environment TOA art stream, but the idea is we're going to have a few of these coming up that go over different aspects of Tombs of Amascut. So this was the environment one, and specifically, I guess, more the 4 paths and boss environments. Want to talk about the final boss environment, and then we have like an animation and a character one that we're going to do. So keep an eye out for that. Should we wrap it up? Should we? Any other questions, or should we just?
I think that's good. Yeah.
We're good. You good? Okay, I'm good. Cool. Sweet. So, I'm contractually obligated to say, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much. We have a game update this week. We put some stuff in it. ornament kits and pet transmogs, activity advisor. If you want to know more, because I'm being very, very specific, type in !game update into the chat to see more. Also, we have a poll running right now, the speed quest speed running poll. Have your voice heard. Type in !poll. And if you type in, I'm being told, if you type in !poopy, nothing will happen, but I'll see it and I will think of you later tonight. Anyway, so, worst host. Sorry guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for putting up with my absolutely horrible.
It was great fun. That was the best stream ever.
Yeah,
You nailed it.
It was good. Sweet. Thanks, guys. Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, from all of us, thanks for joining us. Have a nice day, morning, wherever you are.